Well, here's something that you didn't know. 2 of those special atomic bombs haven't gone off.
Welcome everyone to the Holistic Hipster channel. I'm your host, Alexis Rivera. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you the exercises that you should be doing every time before you deadlift. Anyway guys, let's get into it. Alright, so real quick, let me explain the concept of priming and why it's so significant and critical that we do it before a big gross motor movement such as the deadlift. Now, in short, the act of priming will turn on your central nervous system and will set the stage for optimal recruitment patterns. What this means is you can expect to immediately increase your functional range of motion as well as your overall strength output. And what this means for you is you're just going to experience that much more of an effective workout, and you're going to send a louder muscle building signal just by changing what you do prior to your workout. So saying that, in today's video, I'm going to share with you the exercises that will ensure a better and more stable looking deadlift. And it's also worth mentioning that the following exercises are in a certain order for a reason. So I highly recommend performing them in the sequence that they are given. Anyway, let's get into it. And now the first movement right here will teach proper control of the scapula, and that movement will be the handcuffs. And the reason for this is we want to avoid rounded shoulders or forward shoulders when deadlifting, because once our shoulders roll forward, it's a lot harder to engage our lats. And without proper lat engagement, we lose stability. And when we lose stability, we lose strength. So essentially, let's just minimize or mitigate all of that, and let's just create stability right from the get-go. Plus, forward shoulders will only encourage excessive rounding of the spine. Now, sometimes that's not a bad thing, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. Let's not get into that. Let me just share with you what we have to do to ensure a good-looking deadlift. So, to do this, you're going to start with your forehead on the floor and your chin tucked. Now from there, lengthen out both arms behind you while maintaining that shoulder blade activation, and then slowly wrap your arms forward while elevating the hands to the ceiling as high as they can go. And then once you hit that T position where your arms are out to the sides, begin to rotate your hands until your palms are now facing the ceiling with your arms out in front of you. And then from there, slowly reverse the motion in the same slow and controlled tempo. I recommend performing 3 reps in total right here. Alright, so now we can address the mobility of our hips with the 90-90. And with the 90-90, we are going to internally rotate one hip and externally rotate the other hip to create these 2 90-degree angles. And because our hips are not used to being in this position, we actually want to explore these end ranges. That way we can repattern the way our body moves, specifically during a hip hinging movement, such as the deadlift right here. And to make sure that I'm in the right position right here, I'm going to extend my arm out to the side and line my femur and knee with that arm. Pretty much just line up your knee with the arm and you'll be good to go. From there, place both knees in 2 90-degree angles. And the goal here is to be as upright as possible, because if you need to prop yourself upright with your arm, that is more than okay. From this position, I'm then going to drop my upper body down to my shin. That way I can open up all the capsules that run along my glute and piriformis region. Pretty much just expect a stretch. That is essentially it. It's also worth mentioning that if this movement is difficult for you, or you can't sit upright without propping yourself up with assistance of your arm, then this is a movement that you have to do, and you need to do it often. And next, we are going to send a signal to activate our glutes. And to do so, we're going to be performing pelvic tilts to a hip bridge. And to do this, you want to lie down on a mat or on the hard floor if you're a savage. Now, the first thing to do is you want to tilt that pelvis. And at first, this may be a hard thing to do because this may be a new movement pattern for you, especially if you have an anterior pelvic tilt or excessive arching of the lower back. And if you do have either of those things, then I recommend you check out the video titled Anterior Pelvic Tilt. Here's how to fix it, located on my channel. So go check that out if that piques your interest. real quick, there will naturally be a gap between your lower back and the floor. So your goal is to eliminate that gap by pressing your lower back flush against the floor. And from there, you're going to want to tighten your abs and then drive your hips towards the ceiling. And if you're doing this correctly, you should notice your glutes flexing at the top of the rep. And if you are feeling that activation right there, you're going to want to hold the isometric contraction for a solid 2 to 3 seconds just to solidify the activation signal. I recommend performing one set of 10 reps right here. And next up right here is my go-to dynamic movement that I do with the majority of my clientele, and that is the lizard with rotation. Now, this goes by many names, one of which is the world's greatest stretch, but what we'll be doing today, we'll actually be turning that movement into a tension-based exercise. That way we can actually activate our central nervous system, and trust me, you're going to feel a difference when doing this. Now, to begin, you're going to begin in a high plank position, and then you're going to place your foot alongside your hands. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to drive my elbow that is closest to the front leg down to the floor all the way, all while keeping the opposite arm straight. From there, I'm going to apply rotation of my upper body as I reach back. Now, here are the important cues that you must consider when doing this exercise. Number one, you're going to want to keep tension in the glute of the trail leg that is behind you. Essentially, you're going to flex that glute as hard as you can to create the most activation right there. And the next point of tension is going to be the rear delt when reaching back. You want to reach back as hard as able, that way you can feel the back of your shoulder light up. And then the last point of activation will be the arm that is making contact with the floor. You're going to want to drive that arm into the floor and create some tension. So here's a quick recap of all the tension points. Number one, create tension in the glute of the trail leg that is behind you. Number two will be the rear delt when reaching. And number three, you're going to drive your hand into the floor, creating a whole lot of tension. As for the recommended amount of reps, I recommend performing 10 reps on each side. Just one set, that will be plenty right there. And the last mobility exercise is a fantastic primer for activating your central nervous system, all while mimicking a proper deadlift. Now, for this, I'm going to be using mobility sticks from stickmobility.com. And since we're using the stick as a feedback tool, we'll be able to create a whole lot more tension. And the more tension we create, the more muscle fibers we'll be able to activate, which in turn creates a higher strength output. So, to perform the stick deadlift, you're going to jam both sticks into the wall and place the ends of the sticks right in front of you, pretty much where the shins would be. So to perform the stick deadlift, you're going to want to jam both sticks into the wall and place the ends of the sticks right in front of your shins. From here, you're going to emulate a deadlift by slowly hinging from the hip until your hands are about mid-shin level. And then from there, drive the sticks into the wall as you slowly stand up and drive your hips forward, just like when deadlifting. I recommend performing a total of 2 sets of 3 to 6 reps. Anyway, once you've completed the sequence, you can then go right into your deadlifts, and I guarantee you're going to feel a whole lot more solid and connected to the weight. So give it a shot. Anyway guys, if you found this video useful in any way, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. And if you're interested in getting a mobility stick of your own like the one shown in the video, then check out the link in the description down below and you'll be redirected to Stick Mobility's website. And then you can enter in the discount code HOLISTICHIPSTER to receive 10% off of any of the mobility sticks available. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about corrective exercise, then check out the programs MAPS Prime and MAPS Prime Pro, available at mindpumpmedia.com, and enter in the discount code HOLISTICHIPSTER to receive 10% off of any of the programs at checkout. Lastly, if you have any questions about the video or any questions in general, please just drop a comment down below in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to answer those. Anyway guys, thanks for watching and I'll catch you all next time.